And how do you see this? I mean, you've got the Democrats continuing to obstruct. Is it as bad as Nancy Pelosi says?
It's never as bad as Nancy Pelosi says.
I didn't think so.
First and foremost, and they are becoming even bigger fear mongers than they ever have been. I would argue that this whole issue of whether pre-existing conditions will be covered has been blown wildly out of proportion. As we pointed out on this program yesterday, under the original pre-existing condition insurance plan that President Obama rolled out before Obamacare took effect, 115,000 people applied for that insurance. That's the number of people that we're essentially talking about. And I want to make clear that in this House bill that insurance companies will be required to sell health plans to people with pre-existing conditions. And people will still be able to keep their kids on their health insurance until the age of 26. The only issue is that states can apply for waivers that could, in part, let them handle pre-existing conditions differently. And that, to Congressman Upton's issue, that he got $8 billion over 5 years to help those people at the state level, if the states want these waivers, to help them pay for health expenses, such as out-of-pocket costs, people with pre-existing conditions. So they have taken steps to make sure these people are taken care of, period.
Yeah.
I can go through.
What else is in the building?
Okay, the individual mandate gone, so you won't be penalized for that. Older Americans will be paying more, but it's not out of the realm of what the actual health care costs are today. It's insurance companies can charge under Obamacare 3 times more than the youngest people on health insurance. Under this bill, it goes to 5 times. But remember, elderly Americans are on Medicare. That is not covered under this new bill. New tax credits instead of the subsidies in the old health care law. You see a lot of the taxes go away. A lot of the taxes. The tax on medical device makers, which that was a job killer.
Obviously, the surcharge on dividends, which was one of the early ones that they did away with.
Right, exactly. 3.8% investment income tax on wealthier Americans. Huge boost for the stock market, but also a huge boost for companies that want to raise money. Again, you make it more palatable to invest. That's just really powerful.
So we got the details, Bob Nardelli.
Yeah.
How does this play, in your view, from a business standpoint and a boost to economic growth? This is a big deal for the House Republicans, finally.
It is. And, you know, the congressman from Michigan talking about fixes on fixes. And there are fixes on fixes here to try and make sure it's much more workable, much more acceptable solution, you know, to deliver good, solid health care. I think, you know, the pre-existing conditions, Deggans, you talked about, is something very important. I think this administration, headed by President Trump, is really trying to be responsive to the request out there and get this out there, because we know Obamacare is failing. And, you know, you talk about Pelosi. I didn't think there could be anybody more destructive than Harry Reid, but Schumer's certainly stepping up there.
He's stepping up. He really is.
He really
He's been an obstructionist from the
One thing
get-go.
I left out, the business mandate, which will free up companies to create jobs. Remember, we had all these companies that kept their employee levels at 49 because they didn't want to step up and have to meet.
You think that changes here?
I think that it really it lifts a huge burden on the small businesses in this country.
It's a big benefit to small business, Degan. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this was in and of itself a huge tax cut.
Yes.
Getting this done.
Look, I think there's a huge problem here, though, in messaging. I think nobody knows what they're getting in the bill. I don't think the Republicans are celebrating enough that they're willing to compromise. They're willing to listen to the people and give them what they're asking for. I think that's true here. I also think it's in the budget that they just passed. In that negotiation, they're saying Republicans got rolled instead of saying Republicans actually were willing to compromise to get things done. And the Democrat strategy is to sit there and say, look what a mess they are. Look at how they're not, and it's just totally, I mean, from my perspective, there's a story here that's good. They're working on behalf of the American people. They're trying to get things done. They're reacting to what people want. And there's a simple story about health care here, that they're going to cover pre-existing conditions, that they're going to address people's most, you know, the biggest concerns they have, and it's going to benefit both people and the economy. And that message isn't coming through.
The way that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi really wanted to see a government shutdown.
Absolutely.
They wanted a situation, a narrative, to be able to say Donald Trump and his administration are incompetent.
Yes.
That did not happen. Congress moved one step closer to avoiding that government shutdown. Yesterday, passing a $1 trillion spending bill. The Senate expected to quickly follow suit. both President Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan hailed it as a victory because they came so close. Once again, we're living on this, make decisions in the 11th hour. But again, Schumer wanted to see a government shutdown. That did not happen.
And so they turned the tables on the Republicans and started messaging about. So they didn't get a government shutdown. So then Schumer and the Democrats, because they're better at getting their word out to the American people, made it a victory for them. And then you kind of had you did have the Republicans caught back on their heels, and they were like, wait a minute, we did get border protection funding.
$1.5 billion.
Right, we did get defense spending.
First time defense increases in 10 years.
But they didn't message that right out of the gate.
Exactly right.
They did it after the fact, after it looked like the Democrats had a victory.
And if you don't tell your story, someone else will. And the Democrats are telling the story right now, and the Republicans have to get in front of it. It is just a shame.
Yeah.
Here's how they message on pre-existing conditions. This is not about whether people will be covered. That was never an issue. Everybody's going to be able to buy insurance, period. It is how it is paid for. Rather than hiding it in the cost of insurance for everybody and making young people pay more, we're going to actually have some taxpayer funding out of the government in these pools. If the states decide that's what they want, then that's how we're going to fund it. People will be covered, and we will help you pay for your coverage.
Why can't they message it?
And the lack of message, Speaker Ryan's in the crosshairs. I mean, the media and the other party is really taking him to task.
And he knows better about messaging.
He does.
He really does. I don't know.
It doesn't look like that.
No, it doesn't. But he has in the past.